Let's delve into the fascinating realm of asking the universe for anything you want, and guess what? You can do this right before you drift into the world of dreams. Now, you might be wondering, if the quantum law is at play, why does it often feel like we're stuck in the same old routines, same relationships, same jobs, same circumstances? Well, my friends, it all comes down to mastering the art of observation. Picture this. There's a researcher eager to unravel the secrets of focused attention. So, who does he turn to? None other than the Dalai Lama and his 8 meditation maestros, each with over 40,000 hours of intense meditation under their belts. These monks have spent more than 40 years honing the skill of focusing on single-minded thoughts like compassion or unconditional love. Now, here's the kicker. They hook these monks up to brain scans, specifically EEGs, which measure the brain's electromagnetic frequency. A whopping 256 electrodes covered their heads, creating a holographic image of brain activity. The instructions were simple. Be your normal self, monks. Then, the magic happened. When asked to focus on compassion, their frontal lobes lit up like a celestial fireworks show. The scientists were astounded. They had never witnessed such brain activity. Now, let's contrast that with an average group of folks attempting the same focused concentration. What ensued? A mental chatter of back pain, impatience, and dinner plans, and their frontal lobes? Meh, not much. It became clear that paying attention and concentration are skills, just like tennis or golf. The more you practice, the better you get. Here's a profound realization. The brain is the instrument we use to process thoughts. It's the central clearinghouse of intelligence, housing the greatest cluster of neurons. But here's the kicker. Mind is what the brain does. Mind is the brain in action. So, if we can improve how our brain works, who's doing the improving? Enter the 13-letter powerhouse called consciousness. Yes, that's the key. Consciousness, that self-aware, free-willed essence, is not the body, not the brain, and not the mind. It's what manipulates the brain to produce mind. The brain processes a staggering 400 billion bits of information per second, yet we're only aware of about 2,000. And what do those 2,000 bits focus on? The body, the environment, and time, nothing else. Now, what if we could shift consciousness away from these and tap into the quantum field? Well, that's where the game-changing magic unfolds. Now, let's talk about the first step to change, becoming conscious of those unconscious states of mind and body. Most people avoid this because it's not the comfiest of endeavors. But here's the catch. Repeatedly activating the stress response system through prolonged fear, pain, or suffering compromises the immune system. The energy mobilized for survival weakens the inner environment, making us susceptible to outer conditions. Imagine this, billions of bits of information processed by the brain, but our self-awareness fixates on just a tiny fraction related to the body, environment, and time. Now, when we can detach consciousness from these, we break free from the limitations dictated by the laws of the body, environment, and time. And voila, the door to the quantum field swings wide open. So how does this tie into asking the universe for anything you want before sleep? Well, it's all about changing your internal environment. When you switch from living by the arousal of fear, pain, and aggression to opening your heart and practicing meditation, a remarkable transformation occurs. In just 4 days, your immune system can strengthen by 50%. Now, some might say, it's too hard, not now. But my friends, this is the time, the perfect opportunity to retreat within the comfort of your home. Breaking from routine and stepping outside familiar territory is crucial. As we practice the inward work, like meditation, the information our body receives shifts from perceiving danger in the outer world to feeling safe in the present moment. Your body's response to this state becomes a powerful defense, creating antigens that block viruses and bacteria. It's like turning your body into a fortress of well-being. Now let's talk about the practical steps of asking the universe before you sleep to get anything you want. As you lie down for the night, take a moment to reflect on your desires. This is not just a casual wish, it's a conscious intention. Begin by expressing gratitude for the day that has passed. Feel the warmth of appreciation for the experiences, both big and small. Next, shift your focus to what you want to manifest in your life. Visualize it with vivid detail, as if it's happening right now. Engage your senses, feel the emotions, hear the sounds, and immerse yourself in the scene. The key is to make it real in your mind. Imagine it so intensely that your brain and body respond as if it's already unfolding. Now here's where you bring in the power of elevated emotions. Feel the joy, gratitude, and love associated with your desire. Let these emotions wash over you, creating a coherent and harmonious state. In this state, you're in sync with the quantum field, aligning your energy with the frequency of your desires. As you continue this practice, allow any doubts or skepticism to fade away. Trust the process. Trust the universe. Remember, your consciousness is the driving force here. When you ask the universe with clarity, focus, and elevated emotions, you're sending out a powerful signal. Now, release your intention to the universe. Let it go, surrendering the need to control or micromanage the hows and whens. Trust that the universe is orchestrating the details in ways beyond your current understanding. This is where faith and patience come into play. As you drift into sleep, maintain a sense of peace and gratitude. Let your subconscious mind marinate in the intentions you've planted. Your dreams might become a playground for the universe to communicate with you, offering insights and guidance. Let's dive deeper into the profound practice of asking the universe before you sleep. This isn't a quick fix, it's a journey, a commitment to consistency. Night after night, make it a ritual, a sacred routine before you enter the realm of dreams. Through this ongoing dedication, you'll begin to witness remarkable shifts in your reality, with manifestations aligning effortlessly with your heartfelt intentions. As you embark on this transformative journey, it's crucial to grasp the immense power of consciousness. You're not a mere spectator in the cosmic dance of existence. You are a co-creator. Picture your intentions and desires as energetic threads intricately weaving the tapestry of your reality. Every thought, every emotion contributes to the masterpiece unfolding in your life. So how can you amplify this creative process? Embrace the art of observation. Pay attention to the intricate details of your thoughts and feelings. Sharpen your skill of focused attention, as if honing the precision of a master artist's brush. Allow consciousness to be your guiding force, navigating the vast landscape of your inner and outer worlds. Asking the universe before you sleep isn't a mundane bedtime ritual. It's a gateway to quantum possibilities. It's a direct line of communication with the expansive, intelligent energy that surrounds and permeates all of existence. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about tapping into the very fabric of creation and co-authoring the narrative of your life. So dare to dream big. Let your aspirations soar to cosmic heights. Ask boldly, with unwavering confidence in the power you possess. As you articulate your desires, feel the resonance within your being. Let the vibrations of your intentions harmonize with the frequencies of the universe. This alignment sets in motion the intricate dance between your dreams and the cosmic forces at play. Now envision your life unfolding like a magical symphony. The universe, the grand conductor, orchestrates its mystical melodies in response to your requests. The subtle nuances of your thoughts and emotions become the notes, and the cosmos responds with a symphony of creation. Your dreams are not distant fantasies. They are intricate compositions waiting to be played in the grand theater of existence. and I was having these Kundalini experiences, and it was like I was getting plugged into a light socket, like someone plugged me into the electricity socket, and I could feel every single cell of my body, the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want for something greater to happen. Absolutely, that's such a paradox, and the moment you step in, it honors free will. So then the person who's the new age person who's saying, well, I'm just going to wait for my Maserati to come to me. This is not how that works. Once you move into a new state of being and you're creating wealth, in other words, only gold creates gold. Lead doesn't create gold. And our job is to take those base emotions of anger and resentment and fear and anxiety, those base emotions, and transmute them into gold. Because right on the other side of our pain is freedom. Right on the other side of our lack is wealth of abundance. Right on the other side of our fear is courage. It's the same energy. It's just trapped in the body. And when we transmute that energy into something else, right? Now we have available energy to begin to design a destiny with. So then a person who moves into that elegant state of being where they're expanded and they're enriched and they're in love with life, then they can't go back to the old self, because that is their new state of being. So then if you practice that every day, sooner or later, it's going to begin to become familiar to you. So then if you're creating wealth and you're in the state of being of abundance, you better not be thinking lacking thoughts, because an abundant person would never do that. You can't demonstrate that you're not making choices because you believe that there's not enough lack of time, lack of energy, lack of money. A wealthy person an abundant person would never think that. You can't feel unworthy and lacking if you're going to be a wealthy person. So by very logic and reason, you've got to lay that down and move into this state of being. Now, once you're in that state of being, you can't sit on the couch and wait for the phone call. Once you're in that state of being, you've got to start making choices into the unknown from that state of being. You've got to trust in the unknown. The moment you don't make the choice, you just doubted your creation. You return back to the known. And so people then, when you're in that state of being, the miraculous happens when you say, okay, I'm going to go for it, but you're not going to go for it as your limited emotional self. You're going to go for it as your unlimited self. And you begin to make those choices and you step out into the unknown. That's when the miraculous happens. And you say, oh my God, I'm so glad I made that choice. But then waking up in the morning then and priming your brain and body to make that change is the key. There's 2 times the door to the subconscious mind opens up. When we wake up in the morning and we go to bed at night. Why? In that crossover place. Because your brain goes from deep delta brain waves to theta brain waves to alpha brain waves to beta brain waves. Why? And when you go to bed at night, it goes from beta to alpha to theta to delta. And if you can't get there, you're stuck in high beta. It's because you're driving the sports car in first gear. So people do whatever they can to get down there. So the brain chemistry works in accordance with this. So when you wake up in the morning and the receptors in the back of your eye pick up light, the moment that happens, your optic nerve sends a signal to the pineal gland, and the pineal gland starts making serotonin. And serotonin is the daytime neurotransmitter. In other words, serotonin gets you up and going. It gets your brain turned on. The moment it starts getting dark at night, and your eye is no longer picking up visible light, the mechanism starts to change, and now because there's less light, the optic nerve sends a signal to the pineal gland. The pineal gland takes serotonin and starts carving off a couple methyl groups and turns it into melatonin. And melatonin is the nighttime neurotransmitter. So Sarah gets you up in the morning and Mel puts you to bed at night. Now when serotonin increases, your brainwave patterns go into beta. That's because you're going to pay attention more to the outer world. When you're in meditation and you close your eyes and you eliminate light, and it's dark in the room, and you play music in the background, you put earplugs in, you're getting less sensory data coming in from your environment. So then your cortex is not so preoccupied with trying to create meaning between the outer world and the inner world. You're forgetting about the outer world, and the inner world is where you're cultivating something. So then when you close your eyes and do your meditation, then your brain waves move into melatonin. And if you're waking up in the morning and you're waking up at 5 in the morning, guess what? Your brain waves will probably be in theta or alpha. You're in your subconscious. You're past the beta thinking. If you go to bed at night, I have friends that are artists and playwrights and musicians. They stay up till 2 in the morning. They love that 11 o'clock till 2 in the morning. They're in nighttime, they're in alpha. They've got all these creative ideas. Me, I'm a morning person. I wake up, I'm up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. It's my time to create. I set aside a certain amount of time. That's my time because the rest of the day I'm serving. So I like to get myself right in the morning. So doing that then begins to alter brainwave patterns. Now, if you move from beta to alpha, there'll come an amazing moment where if you do this right, you'll slip into theta. Now, theta is when your body is asleep, but your mind is awake. So think about this. If your body's asleep and you've conditioned it to be the mind through addictions or habits, the moment the body's asleep, it's no longer the mind. So there's no longer any resistance, and that's where instantaneous change takes place. If you go too far, you slip into delta, and that's called deep sleep, restorative sleep. People say to me, well, I really can't meditate. And I say, really, where do you meditate? Oh, in bed. Yeah, well, there you go. Get out of bed. You're fast-tracked to delta because you're going to go right to delta. So then what we noticed in our research, to finish that other thought, is that there comes a moment when you're in that coherent level of alpha, and all of a sudden you slip into theta. And all of a sudden, when theta turns on, all of a sudden you start seeing this amazing change take place. And the body becomes so relaxed and the energy centers, the sympathetic nervous system switches on. Most of our thoughts and feelings come from our past experiences. They come from our memories. In fact, your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of all the things you've learned and experienced to date. It's an artifact. And when you have an experience, when you're in the midst of an experience, all of your 5 senses plug you into the external environment. And as your brain is processing all of this vital sensory data, all of that information rushes back to the brain. And when it reaches the brain, it causes jungles of neurons to organize themselves into networks, to string into patterns, to reflect their interaction with their external environment. The moment those neurons organize into patterns, the brain makes a chemical, and that chemical is called a feeling or an emotion. And so experiences tend to create more long-term memories because it patterns or stamps or embosses networks of neurons into very specific patterns. And then the emotional quotient helps us to remember the event. So we learn something new intellectually. We also cause networks of neurons to form. I mean, the Nobel Prize laureate Kandel in the year 2000 found that when people learn just one bit of information, they double the number of connections in their brain from 1,300 connections to 2,600 connections. So if they didn't review that information or repeat it, the connections pruned apart. So we know then that learning semantic information begins to organize circuitry in the brain, and experiences enrich the brain. The end product of experience, of course, is the emotion, and it causes us to feel certain ways. You can remember where you were on 9/11. You can tell me who you were with, what time of day it was, what you were doing, because whatever you were seeing in that moment or hearing in that moment changed how you were feeling. And the moment you felt altered or you felt differently, significantly, your brain perked up and you paid attention to whatever caused that. And that event in and of itself is called a memory. So then most of our thoughts and feelings tend to be within the neural circuitry of the past and the emotions of the past chemically. So if you take a thought, thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body, and how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. So if you combine a thought and a feeling, a thought and a feeling, a thought and a feeling, and you have a series of good thoughts that are connected to a series of good feelings, that cycle of thinking and feeling creates what's called an attitude. If you have a series of negative thoughts that are connected to some pretty bad feelings, you'll say, I have a pretty bad attitude today. So if how you think and how you feel creates a state of being, then attitudes are just shortened states of being. The hardest part of all of this, everything we're talking about, is one simple thing: making the time to do it. That's it. Making the time for your precious self to eliminate the people in your life and the things that you do just for a short period of time when you wake up in the morning or before you go to bed at night and you say, okay, what is the greatest ideal of myself that I want to be today? But listen, I'm not going to get up until I am this person. When you begin to wrestle with your limitations and overcome them, there's so much talk in the United States about self-love. People think self-love is getting a manicure or buying a sports car. That's not self-love, that's pleasure. Self-love is when you're sitting with yourself and you are working on overcoming your hardwired thoughts or beliefs or your emotional propensities that are connected to your past, and you are really working to overcome them. Right on the other side of your pain is freedom. Right on the other side of your fear is courage. Right on the other side of your sadness is joy. It's the same energy. It's just trapped in the body. When you stretch yourself past that point and you break free from the chains of those emotional addictions, the side effect of that is called joy. The body is liberated from that level of mind. When that happens, there's available energy to create with. So when you break through that, you begin to love yourself, you begin to respect yourself, and you begin to love and respect others because you see yourself in them. And now that you're free from it, you can understand them with compassion without knee-jerking in the same way. So the difficulty here is really making the time to do it. And if you began to think about a new way of being and you moved into a state where you said, I'm not going to get up until I am this person, not only did you memorize it neurologically in your brain, but you allowed the thoughts that you were thinking to become the experience to the point that your body, as the unconscious mind, began to live in that future reality in the present moment. And when you got up, when mind and body were working together in that state of being, and you said, I'm going to maintain the state of being my entire day, and I don't care. Bring on the challenges because I want to test my greatness. And you did that the entire day. The end of your day, when you finished your day, more than likely you'd have more energy than when you started. The literal translation of the word meditation in Tibetan means to become familiar with. The symbol means to become familiar with. So if you're becoming conscious of or familiar with your unconscious self, to the point you're so conscious of your unconscious thoughts, so familiar with your unconscious habits, and so aware of your emotions that you would never let them go by unnoticed by you, there's no chance for you to return back to the old self, to know thyself. And then, if you became familiar with a new self because you neurologically fired and wired it in your brain, and you emotionally conditioned your body, and you were able to do it enough times, sooner or later, it would get easier, and it would become more familiar to you, and you would be able to move into that state of being. By the way, a new state of being is a new personality, and a new personality is a new personal reality. One of the things about substances is that it actually helps to change chemistry in the brain and body, so there becomes a chemical dependence on it at that point. But the person who wants to change has to want to change. That's the first element. In other words, no one can make you change, but you have to find it in you to really see if this is what you want to do. I've studied people over the last 12 years. Why is it that one person, an old-timer, can look at his x-rays and see a spot on his lungs, and the doctor will say to him, hey George, you know that's a spot on your lungs. It's nothing now, but if you keep smoking it will be. And that guy just takes his cigarettes, throws them in the trash, and he's done the next day. How do you explain that? He made the decision, and the decision was an experience, and it began to rewrite his chemistry and his biology. How can a person who moves into a state of religious ecstasy, a state of absolute faith, drink strychnine and not get poisoned by it? It's a decision. It's an energetic decision. It's how powerful the mind really is. People then who actually want to make the decision to change have to make the decision with firm intention. Once you understand the how-to, that you can't use your conscious mind to do this, you have to move beyond the analytical mind. When you understand brainwave patterns and when you slip into a different state of mind, that it's easier to do it. So most people then, 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of memorized habits and behaviors that become part of our identity or personality. So 5% of the conscious mind is trying to change 95% of what we've memorized, hardwired, become addicted to emotionally. So the person may want to think positively, but they've been feeling negatively and oiling those programs for the last 25 years. They might want a new life with new conditions, and as they use their mind, conscious mind, to focus on that, their subconscious mind, they've been programmed to feel guilty. That's mind and body in opposition. We have to begin to recondition the body to a new mind. So change isn't hard, it's just that you've got to get the manual to understand how to begin to unlearn and relearn, to break the habit of the old self and reinvent the new self. The latest research in neuroplasticity tells us we're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. The latest research in epigenetics says we're not doomed by our genes, that in fact we're marvels of adaptability and change. So as a person started to contemplate and think about, who do I want to be when I open my eyes? What would it be like to be happy? What would it be like to live a new life? The frontal lobe is looking out into the landscape of the entire brain because it has connections to the entire neocortex, and it's got to resolve the problem. So it starts calling up different networks of neurons that are relevant to the question based on the knowledge the person learns or the experiences that they had, and it begins to seamlessly piece together this new understanding, and that's called intention. And so if you're reading a book about how to become more happy, or if you're reading a book on how to be a leader in your life, where you're studying the process, every time you learn something new, you add new connections to your brains and raw materials for you to imagine even more. The act of mentally rehearsing begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like it's already happened. Now, the brain is typically a record of the past, but the moment we install the neurological hardware, it becomes a map to the future. And you keep doing that, the hardware becomes a software program, which means you start thinking like a genius, you start acting like a happy person because there's no mystery there because you installed the circuits. And then these people didn't wait for their wealth or their health to feel gratitude and to feel empowered or to feel love, a love for life. They began to feel those emotions ahead of the experience, and their body, as the unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between the experience and their life that creates the emotion, and their emotion that they're creating by thought alone. The body's believing it's living in the future, in the present moment, and the stronger the emotion that they felt, the more they're going to pay attention to the thoughts they're thinking. And now all of a sudden they're changing their biology from living in the past, present reality to living in the future, present reality. And I was so intrigued by this process that I went back to school to study neuroscience because it was the answer in the internal process of rehearsing and imagining. They had long moments where they lost track of time and space, where when they opened their eyes, they thought it was maybe 15-20 minutes later, and it was an hour and 15 minutes later. When we get into the present moment, there's a moment where you lose track of yourself, you forget about yourself, and only in the present moment do you have access, according to the quantum model of reality, to other possibilities. And when you're truly in the present moment, the generous present moment, that's the moment then that you are no longer living in the familiar past or the predictable future. And in order for us to change, I realized that we have to get beyond our environment. And what's our environment made of? People, husbands, kids, bosses, objects, things, places. You got to get beyond your emotions, your body, your pain, your disease, and you got to get beyond this concept of linear time. So when we get beyond our body, our environment and time, we become pure consciousness, and now that consciousness can begin to connect to the consciousness of the field. And all of a sudden I realized that when people are nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere and no time, that's the moment. And if you could give 1 to 3 different things that we could think differently or eliminate when a thought comes to us or we react in a certain way, if there's something you think, if we eliminated 1, 2, or 3 things and we did this every day for 7 days, we would start to see incredible feelings of differently. We'd feel healthier, more lively, more loved. What would be those few things? Okay? Well, most people, number 1, they get up in the morning and they check their cell phone, they check their text, their WhatsApp, their Facebook, they post something on Facebook, drive to work the same way, do the same thing. So they're in a program. They've actually lost their free will to the program. So if you start your day and you start your day with this simple question, what is the greatest ideal of myself that I can be today? You ask yourself that question. Now listen, your body's gonna go like, well, we've gotta get a cup of coffee, and you've gotta go, I'm tired, and you've gotta go, Body, you're not the mind, I'm the mind right now. You're gonna sit here, I'm gonna feed you, you're gonna get your coffee, you're gonna do all those things, but right now this is my time. You're gonna obey me, right? So now the body's no longer the mind, you're the mind. And so when it wants to get up and you become aware of it, you return back to the present moment. Every time you do that, it's a victory, and you're changing some aspect of yourself. So then ask yourself, I do this all the time. Write down 4 thoughts that you're going to stay conscious of the whole day. I can't, it's too hard. You'd be surprised the moment you become conscious of what those thoughts are, how unconscious you've been to them all day, all for weeks on end. Write down what you speak, how you speak, 4 things you want to change, how you act. How do you act? Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? Do you feel sorry for yourself? That's a victim consciousness. What emotions do you live by? Is it possible that you're so used to living by guilt and you don't even know it's guilt? It just feels like you? Do you allow your energy to drop? Become conscious of those states of mind and body and review them and say, this is the old self. Then say, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? And start firing and wiring and start feeling it. What behaviors will I demonstrate today? What choices will I make? One day, one lifetime. Just like you did, rehearse them. Rehearse the whole entire thing. Begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain. And if you keep installing it, the hardware is going to become a software program, and you're going to start thinking and acting that way. And then here's the tough part. Can you teach your body emotionally what your future is going to feel like before it's made manifest? And don't get up until you feel that way. Now practice that for a few days and then see if you can stay in that state and watch all of a sudden all those weird doors start opening for you. Synchronicities, whatever they are. Number 2, take up time at the end of your day. The end of your day before you lay down and give thanks for your life. Feel gratitude and really teach your body what it feels like. The emotional signature of gratitude. Gratitude means you're getting something. If I give you something that's of value, you would say thank you because you would feel it, right? So when you're receiving, you're giving thanks. So gratitude is the ultimate state of receiving. So then people only accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to their emotional state. So if you're in a state of gratitude, every thought's gonna make it right down into your body. If you're saying, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, and your body's programmed in negativity, it's saying, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, that thought's going to stop right here. So as you elevate your state, there are about 1-200 different chemical reactions that go on in the body that begin to restore and repair the body in a state of gratitude. And so we've done the research to prove that. 10 minutes and just feel it with all of your heart. That's it. And the third thing, and very important, take time. Whenever it is, sit down, close your eyes, and begin to just open your awareness to the space around you and just sense it and pay attention to it and become more aware of it. The act of opening your awareness begins to reduce the stress hormones and creates more coherent brainwave states.